Hey guys, welcome to my channel. For the longest time, I've had people ask me about my rig. What did I make it out of? How did I build it? What dimensions are they? Now, I'm not going to go into all the fine details of building the thing, but I'm going to give you a look at it, and maybe it'll give you some insight on what you can do, on how you can create one. I'll show you my cabinet, my rig, my throttle, controllers, all those kind of things. I'll give you a close look. Maybe it'll spur some ideas inside your head to, show you how to create your own. Let's take a look. All right, guys, so this is my collective rig. At the moment, it's set up as a collective. As you can see, I have my mini USB buttons. I got 4 of them. In prior videos, I've had 3 of them. I've had to upgrade up to the 4 because I wanted to do more things with it. And as you can see, it's made out of PVC. I've got this little basic pivot right here where it's nice and simple, and I've got a start knob on the other end where I can put in the tension on it. But that's how that works. I have my Dayton Audio transducer that provides some vibration through the system. And then as you can see up here, I have my throttle for my airplanes, for my F-18s and P-51s, whatever it is that I'm going to fly. Because I have my throttle and my collective all mounted on the same base, I can go from my aircraft setup, my airplane setup, straight into my helicopter setup. And you see, again, my controllers are what I use for my HOTAS. I don't have an actual HOTAS. So what I've done is I've created this custom-made PVC pipe. I molded it to fit the shape of the controller. So in order to use it, you press the button in. Keeping it pressed in, you slide it into the mount, and then it keeps the button pressed in. And then it works just like a regular collective in the game. And then when I need to do some key mapping, I have these buttons here. I can open doors, fire weapons, switch weapon select buttons. I can do all that here with the mini USB device. But I also have another keypad that I've added. Now this one, I've assigned all my F keys to. So I can go F1, F2, F3, F4, all the way through. So when I go to my comms menu, instead of having to take my controllers out and actually push buttons or get distracted, I can simply just move over here with some muscle memory. I know where the buttons are at, and then I hit my buttons. All of it's on one panel, and as you can see, I have my transducer for my bass shaker. All right, let's jump into the rig. Now, when I created this thing, I created it on a platform, and as you can see, I've got some tension knobs here, or actually star nuts. I can unscrew this, and you see how it's tilted. I have one on the other side. What I do is I also use my rig for auto racing sims. So sometimes I have to adjust the pedals. When I created it, I thought, well, I'm not sure exactly where the tilt is going to be, so I created it so that I can have different levels of tilts. So this particular pitch seemed to work best for me for both, so this is where I left it. But it is capable of tilting down if I needed it to be flat for maybe a different set of rudder pedals or something. But that's my setup for my pedals. And then as you can see here, I have a foot switch that I use for the map. Typically the F10 map, I just click it there, and then I have a button on my mini devices, click it, and it'll take me back to the inside cockpit view. Now my overall rig is just under 3 feet wide and 5 feet long. And as you can see, I've used 2x4s. This is plywood or MFD wood. Very simple, very cheap. And then what I have on top is just the vinyl, they call it diamond-shaped vinyl linoleum, I guess. I just glued it to it so that it have a nice finish to it and maybe, give it a little bit more of a rugged look. Now, I get a lot of questions about my flight stick. And as you can see, it's a custom-made flight stick. I've made it out of PVC pipe, and I added this 90 on here to give it more of the helicopter cyclic feel. And it really does make a big difference to have it with this angle as opposed to a straight-up stick or even a side stick. It's way better to have it between your legs. So if you get the opportunity to get a center stick, by all means, try it. So again, this mold, this handle here is custom built to fit the controller, just like the collective was. So the way this works, you push the button in the same way. You push the button in and then slide it in, and it stays there. And then I use it as a regular cyclic. Now, what makes this work so good and feel so authentic, as you can see, it springs back to the center. It's really got some good tension on it. And what does that is when I built it with a 1 1/4. Now, the tubing is 1 1/4 inch PVC pipe. So what I've got is I've got just a rubber coupler, and then I've got a nipple that's attached to the floor flange that's all connected to this rubber coupler. It's a plumbing coupler. It's nothing more than a plumbing coupler with PVC that you use for plumbing. But as you can see, it's really, really resistant, and it springs right back to the center. So even as I'm flying, I get that sensation of some tension there. It's no force feedback. It's nothing like that. Now, as you can see, I do have a butt kicker attached. In this case, it's a butt kicker transducer. What that does, it gives me vibration through the stick so that it feels like I'm actually in the aircraft. So my collective has a butt kicker, has a transducer. It vibrates. My Cyclic has a butt kicker or a transducer, and it vibrates. And as you can see, I have just a regular standard plywood board, and I've got some 2x4s running this way to support it. And then nothing more than just the floor flange connected to a nipple, connected to the rubber coupler, connected to PVC, and then I put the angle on it. And then I custom built this, and I put some leather grip on it so that it feels good to the touch. So that is the magic for my rig. That's what makes it feel super authentic. Now, when it comes to the chair, it's nothing more than a late model Honda Civic sports race car seat that I just put a cover over it so that it would look nice. And then I also added this 5-point harness. These 3 points, the lap belt, they're all bolted to the frame, and then the back end is actually connected to the frame as well, but I have bungee cords on the back end. That way it gives me that tension. It gives me the flexibility to move, and then it gives me that sensation of being pulled back into the seat. If I'm dogfighting or if I'm in the helicopter and I'm leaning forward, I get the sensation of being pulled back into it. And again, because it's all attached to the frame, underneath the seat, I have another transducer, a base shaker. So it vibrates the chair, but it also vibrates the frame. And that frame actually vibrates through the harness. So it comes right across the chest. All the vibration and all come right across the chest. So it really feels like you're in the aircraft. Now, as I was telling you about the harness, 5-point harness, this is how I have it configured in the back. I know it's goofy looking because I haven't gotten around to painting it, but again, it's just PVCs. And what I did is I connected it right to the headrest, because the problem was that the straps were rubbing against the material of the seat. So it was giving me too much friction there. So what I decided is I've got to lift it up off the material so that it's free flowing and I don't get that resistance. So what I did is I took a piece of wood, I cut some holes in it, it's round, and then I put some PVCs on it here, PVC tubing, so that when I move it, it actually spins. And then I put a block on the end so that it doesn't slide out. But as you can see, it moves when this moves. So that gives me the free flowing section of it. And then I also put it through the PVCs. That way it's not sliding off the ends. It stays nice and connected. So as I'm leaning forward in the seat, you see that's what's happening. So I get that sensation of being pulled back in. Works really well. This whole configuration, probably even with the bungee cords, probably less than $15. Of course, the 5-point harness was probably about $60, but a hell of an idea, and it works great. You really get the sensation of being inside the aircraft. Now, while I'm here, I'm going to show you that this is the audio inputs that come off my console. They come in here, and then this is where my amps or the transducers get fed. The speaker wires plug in here, and then there's another set that comes and feeds the other 2 transducers. All right, now let's spend a minute talking about my headset. This is the Oculus Quest 2. Now, as you can see, I've got headphones attached to it. And I've got this helmet, pilot helmet. It's a material helmet. I got it from Lift Avionics. What it does, it holds my headphones in place. Because of the rig, because of the head harness on the Oculus Quest 2, my headphones had a problem staying in place. They would always slide back. And then if I'm in dogfight and I'm turning, they would come off. So by attaching it all to my helmet or to the material helmet, it actually keeps them in place. And as you can see, I've got uh, a authentic pilot headset with my microphone. Now, if I take this apart, I'll give you a tighter look at the helmet. I would say that if you're doing a lot of dogfight and you wear headphones, a must-have, because mine constantly kept coming off. Now, this is if you're in VR. If you're not, if you're using monitors, you may not need it. But this is how it works. So the sleeve or the material helmet actually attaches to the muffs, ear muffs, and then it straps in there. So I take that off, and then the headphones come apart. Here's my headphones. So that's how that works. Now, here is the helmet that I have, or the material helmet, pilot helmet. And again, it's from Lift Avionics. Really, really, really good investment. I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. I thought, well, maybe it's probably going to be too hot, but actually, I don't even feel it. It really does help because I feel like my headphones are where they're going to be and they're not going to move. Now, let me give you a little secret that I found for my headsets. When I first got into DCS, there was NVC and VR headset. There was a lot of tweaking, and back at that 2 years ago, in order to reset the headphone, it would always tell you to unplug the VR connection. So what worried me is that because of all the unplugging I was doing, I was going to ruin that connection. So what I did is I attached a extension to it. It's a 90, and on the other end, I don't have it plugged in right now because it's in transport, but here's the other end. So when I have to unplug my headset for whatever reason, I unplug it from here and not from here, so that I'm not ruining this connection, and at some point possibly ruin the headphones just because this connection's bad. So that's one thing that if you're having to unplug and plug in your headset, this is a really good way of doing it. And again, it's nothing more than a 90 on one end, male end on one end, and then the other end is a female end. Amazon, you can find everything on Amazon. Or I was having the same concern with my audio connection. So what I did is I put a 90 on that one as well. That way, if I have to unplug it, I unplug it from here and not from here. So that makes a big difference. Now, you're probably asking, well, why do you have your audio coming out? When I show you the cabinet, I'll go over why I have my audio coming from my headset, coming out through the headphone jack. All right, let's get to that cabinet. All right, guys, so this is my cabinet. I created this myself. I made it out of 2x4, some plywood board, MDF board. It measures 20 by 24, and it's about 32 inches tall. And then I made sure that the rack space here was 19 inches so that I could rack mount things. As you can see, I've got a slide-in keyboard. And I also have this cooling fan system that I bought for my laptop. I cannot tell you how much it has changed the game and saved my computer. Before I got the fan, I would touch my computer up in this area and it was like boiling hot. It was almost too hot to touch. And of course, I was panicking because, oh hell, I'm going to fry my system. But as it turns out, once I got this fan, man, it made a big difference. Now, this is my second fan. This one I like better. The first one I purchased only had 4 fans. And as you can see under this one, it's got a shit ton of fans. So it really works well. It cools right where it needs to be cooled. And it really, really does a fantastic job. And I tell you, it made a big difference in my gaming. All right, so back to the cabinet. As I was saying, I've got a 19-inch distance here. And I've installed some racks so that I could attach shelving. Like this one here is a nice slide in and out shelf that I created for my keyboard. That way I have a keyboard on my Mac, but I also have one here that I can pull out. And this one slides in the rails here so that I can reach it much easier than having to reach all the way up to my laptop. And then underneath, I've recently added a mixer. And I tell you, it's made a big difference. What I do is I come out of my VR headset. I plug into that mini plug on that. I come out, I feed channel 2. And then I also have this connection that I plug my phone to. So if I wanted to rock out to some music, Spotify or Sirius music, I can plug that in there. And then my headphone jack plugs into my Pilot headphones. That way, I can have control of my music coming in, and I also have control of the helicopters and the aircraft and all the sounds coming from DCS. So if I don't want to listen to any kind of music because I need to focus in the game, then I just turn the volume down for the music, and then I can increase the sound if I needed to for my headphones. For my the sound coming off my DCS. So this is only a 4-channel one. It works. It's badass. I'm telling you, I can rock out, and then when I need to focus, boom, I just lower it, and man, I'm back into the game. Then I also have a power conditioner here that I've attached to it. So this is my on-off switch to everything. Very simple, and it works. Everything is on wheels because there are times when I've got to roll it. I've got to disassemble it, like now, and then put it back in because we use this gaming room for other things as well. So I put everything on casters. Now on the other side, I have my butt kicker connections part in my mess. I need to work on some cable management there. But this is where I have my knob sound. I believe it's called knob sound amps. Now I plug these directly into my hub box here, and that hub box plugs into my laptop. So I don't need any kind of sound card. That sends individual signals here, and then what I use for my bass shaker is Haptic Connect, and in there I have 2 sources. I can identify 2 sources. So one amp feeds 2 transducers, the other amp feeds the other transducers. So all that is connected to the sound for the bass shakers comes through these 2, and I believe it's knob sound is what the amps are called. Now, one thing that I wanted to point out that I hadn't spoken on is this 10 input USB bus. I plug in all my devices. Everything plugs into here. As you can see, it's mounted to the side of my rig, and then that runs to the computer through that one cord. That way I don't have a whole batch of other cables coming to my console. Now, if you got any questions, any ideas, if you want to share your pictures on things that on your rig, and by all means, share them. Let's talk about it. I love to engage with you guys. Now, if this video was hopefully somewhat insightful to you, give me a shout, give me a like, give me a share, give me a comment. All those things go to help the channel progress. I appreciate your support, and I'll see you in the skies.